Have you ever wondered why some people keep falling into trouble while others live in peace and security? The answer is right here in Proverbs chapter 1, verse 32 to 33. And trust me, this is a life-changing lesson you don't want to miss. Let's read the verse together. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 32 to 33 says, "For the waywardness of the inexperienced will kill them, and the complacency of fools will destroy them. But the one listening to me will dwell in security and be undisturbed by the dread of calamity." This verse gives a sharp contrast. On one side, we see the wayward and the complacent. On the other, we see the one who listens to wisdom. Waywardness of the inexperienced means drifting off the right path because of lack of discipline or ignoring guidance. It's like driving without a map. You're bound to end up lost and sometimes in danger. Complacency of fools means being overconfident, careless, or thinking, "Nothing bad will happen to me." That attitude leads to destruction. But then there's a promise. The one listening to me will dwell in security. This is God's wisdom speaking. If we humbly listen and apply wisdom, we will live with peace of mind, free from unnecessary fear and calamity. Now, let's look at the practical applications. Don't ignore warning signs. Wayward people often see red flags but choose to look away. For example, someone who spends recklessly despite warnings will eventually face debt and stress. Instead, wisdom says, budget, save, and spend responsibly. Avoid complacency. Complacency says, "I'll be fine. I don't need to prepare." Think of a student who refuses to study for exams. On test day, reality hits hard. Wisdom says, prepare ahead, stay disciplined, and never take life for granted. Choose to listen daily. Listening isn't passive, it's active. Whether it's through reading Proverbs, seeking advice from mentors, or paying attention to life lessons, you grow secure when you practice wisdom every day. I want you to know that Proverbs chapter 1 verse 32 to 33 paints a vivid picture of two paths in life. One leads to destruction through waywardness and complacency, and the other leads to peace and security through listening to wisdom. At first glance, these verses may seem simple, but when you pause to reflect, you realize they carry profound, life-changing lessons. Let's dive deeper into the powerful benefits of applying this verse to your daily life. 1. Security in life. One of the greatest promises in this passage is dwelling in security. Think about what that means. Security is not just about being safe from physical harm. It's about knowing you're grounded, protected, and guided in every area of life. When you walk in wisdom, you're not constantly second-guessing yourself or living in fear of the consequences of poor decisions. For example, a young person who listens to wisdom avoids reckless choices like substance abuse, dangerous relationships, or dishonest shortcuts. As a result, they don't carry the heavy burden of regret or the fear of being found out. Living in wisdom is like having a strong foundation under your feet. No matter what storms come, economic crises, challenges at work, or family conflicts, you stand firm. You're not easily shaken, because wisdom gives you a framework for making stable decisions. And let's be honest, in today's world of uncertainty, nothing feels more valuable than living with a sense of security. The wise person doesn't have to look over their shoulder in fear of consequences. Instead, they move forward with confidence. 2. Peace of mind. Another powerful benefit of applying this verse is peace of mind. How many people today live with constant anxiety, stress, or worry? They lie awake at night, thinking about mistakes, debts, conflicts, or choices they regret. But the one who listens to wisdom can sleep soundly. Proverbs promises that when we choose wisdom, we'll be undisturbed by the dread of calamity. That doesn't mean life will be perfect or free from trials, but it does mean you won't be consumed by fear. You won't spend your days panicking because you trust that God's wisdom is guiding you. For instance, consider someone who listens to financial wisdom. Instead of chasing get-rich-quick schemes, they live within their means, save diligently, and invest wisely. When a financial downturn hits, they're not paralyzed by fear like those who ignored wisdom. They may feel the impact, but they still have peace, knowing they prepared. Peace of mind is priceless. It allows you to focus on what really matters: relationships, spiritual growth, and meaningful work, instead of being consumed by worry. And this peace comes from aligning your life with wisdom. 3. Protection from harm. Wisdom acts like a shield. When you follow its guidance, you avoid traps that would otherwise harm you physically, emotionally, or even spiritually. Think about this. Most of the pain people face in life comes from ignoring wise counsel. Broken marriages often start with ignoring warnings about poor choices in dating. Financial collapse often comes from ignoring the wisdom of discipline and contentment. Emotional breakdowns often come from ignoring the need for rest, balance, and honesty. By applying wisdom, you protect yourself from these unnecessary harms. For example, in your health, wisdom teaches you discipline, eating well, exercising, and avoiding destructive habits. In relationships, wisdom guides you to forgive, to communicate clearly, and to avoid toxic influences. In your career, wisdom leads you to honesty, diligence, and growth, rather than cutting corners or acting selfishly. It doesn't mean you'll never face challenges, but it does mean you'll avoid a huge amount of self-inflicted pain. And that protection gives you the freedom to live a fuller, healthier, and more productive life. 4. God's favor. Perhaps the most important benefit of all is this: when you honor wisdom, you align yourself with God's guidance. Remember, true wisdom comes from God. Proverbs is not just a book of clever sayings, it's divine instruction. When you listen and apply it, you're not just being smart. You're showing respect to the one who created wisdom. God loves to bless those who walk in His ways. That blessing may come as open doors in your career, protection in times of danger, or provision when you need it most. It may also come as inner joy, contentment, and fulfillment. For example, someone who applies wisdom in their business by practicing honesty and fairness may not get rich overnight, but they gain a reputation for integrity. Over time, clients, customers, and partners trust them more, and that trust leads to lasting success. That's God's favor at work. Even in difficult times, those who walk in wisdom experience God's care. They may not escape every trial, but they're never alone, and they never lack the strength they need. Now, let's summarize the beauty of Proverbs chapter 1 verse 32 to 33. On one side, foolishness and complacency lead to destruction. On the other side, wisdom leads to security, peace, protection, and God's favor. The difference is in the daily choices we make. When you choose wisdom, you choose life. You choose to walk confidently instead of fearfully. You choose peace instead of anxiety. You choose safety instead of harm. And most importantly, you choose alignment with God, which brings blessings now and eternal hope for the future. Here's the question for you. Which path will you take? Will you drift into complacency and face destruction? Or will you actively listen to wisdom and live in peace and security? Proverbs reminds us that wisdom is not hidden. It's available to anyone who wants it. The challenge is simply to listen, believe, and apply it every single day. So the next time you face a decision, big or small, pause and ask yourself, what would wisdom say here? That small step could save you from harm, bring you peace, and open the door to God's blessings. Bottom line, the benefits of applying this verse are not abstract. They are real, practical, and life-changing. When you choose wisdom, you choose success with God's protection and favor. So here's the choice Proverbs gives us. Be wayward and complacent, which leads to destruction. Or listen to wisdom and live in peace and security. The decision is simple, but the impact lasts a lifetime. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next verse. And remember, real success begins with wisdom.